Welcome back to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into something pretty huge happening over at Meta. It's going to fundamentally change things in digital advertising.
Yeah, big time.
We're talking about Meta Andromeda. And look, for agencies like yours, this isn't some minor tweak. It's like a system-wide shift in how the core ad platform intelligence works. You know, how it decides who sees what ad. It's going to directly hit your campaign results.
Absolutely. It kind of flips the script on how we've always thought about structuring campaigns. Marketers, we tend to obsess about the auction, right? That final battle for the impression.
Yeah.
But Andromeda, it pushes the smarts way, way earlier in the process. It's moving intelligence upstream.
Okay, so our mission today seems pretty clear then. We need to figure out the why behind this, like what big problem Andromeda actually solves. Then we need to pin down what it is this new retrieval layer.
Right.
And probably most importantly for everyone listening, translate all that tech talk into, well, concrete actions, things you need to do right now in your campaigns, your strategy.
Exactly. It's about taking Meta's, frankly, incredible engineering work and figuring out how to make it work for your marketing performance, like today.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the why.
Yeah.
Why build a whole new engine? What was broken?
Well, they essentially hit a wall, a scalability wall. Think of the old ad system. For every single person scrolling, say, a reel, the system had this impossible task.
Which was?
Instantly grabbing potentially tens of millions of possible ads, checking them against thousands of personalized signals for relevance, and doing it all in, like, milliseconds.
Tens of millions per impression.
Yeah, the scale is just mind-boggling. And then you throw in the explosion of creative variations from things like Advantage Plus campaigns, generative AI churning out options.
Okay.
The old architecture just, it couldn't handle that sheer volume and the tight speed requirements. It was buckling. Latency and scale were the big enemies.
So the demand for super personalized ad selection just completely outpaced the tech they had.
Precisely. It's like, imagine a librarian trying to find the perfect book for you instantly, based on a vague description, from a library with millions of books, but they only have a fraction of a second.
They're going to miss some good ones.
Exactly. They might grab something okay, but they can't possibly scan everything perfectly in time. Andromeda, this new retrieval system, it's more like having this purpose-built AI infrastructure. It can scan everything, find those hidden gems before the ranking stage even kicks in.
And you mentioned hardware, too.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is this wasn't just a software fix. Meta had to co-design everything. The machine learning models, the system infrastructure, and specialized hardware. Things like NVIDIA's Grace Hopper superchip and their own internal accelerator chips they call MTIA.
Custom silicon just for this.
Wow. All built for speed in that retrieval stage. The goal: take those tens of millions of potential ads and within milliseconds pick out a few thousand high-quality, personalized candidates.
Okay, so they built this super fast selection engine. For us marketers, how does this change the ad delivery process we sort of know? Where does Andromeda actually slot in?
Right. It creates a crucial new first step. So now think of it as a three-stage pipeline. Stage one is retrieval. That's Andromeda's domain.
Okay.
It scans that universe of ads, picks the best few thousand candidates for that specific person and moment. Meta's actually reporting big gains in recall here.
Recall, meaning they're better at finding relevant ads that the old system might have missed.
Exactly. Fewer missed opportunities, higher quality inputs for the next stage.
Which is stage two, the ranking stage. If Andromeda is already picking the best candidates, does ranking become less important? I mean, is the hard work already done?
That's a really good question. No, ranking is still absolutely vital. Stage two is where those selected ads get scored based on predicted user value, clicks, conversions, whatever your goal is, and your bid strategy.
Okay.
But here's the key. If Andromeda feeds the ranking models a much better, more relevant pool of ads to start with,
then the ranking itself becomes more effective. It's working with better ingredients.
Precisely. Better inputs lead to better outputs. So the ranking is more effective, optimization is better, you get better results.
Makes sense. And stage three is delivery and optimization placements, final bidding, the feedback loop. That just benefits from the better quality coming out of stages 1 and 2.
You got it. And our sources mention some of the tech making this speed possible, like hierarchical indexing. Basically, smart ways Andromeda organizes all the ad creative so it can search them incredibly efficiently.
Okay, let's pivot. This technical stuff is fascinating, but what does it mean strategically?
Yeah.
You said it undermines the old playbook.
It really does. That whole approach of painstakingly crafting tiny, hyper-specific audience segments based on niche interests, Well, it's becoming much less efficient, maybe even counterproductive,
Why counterproductive?
because you're manually restricting the powerful new retrieval engine. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the system shift means targeting is now less about you finding the perfect little audience slice and more about feeding the machine creative diversity within a broad structure.
So stop trying to find the needle in the haystack yourself.
Because Meta built a giant super smart magnet. Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting then. If the engine can sift through millions of options instantly, creative diversity becomes like the #1 lever for success.
It's arguably the most important lever now. Your job shifts from audience architect to creative director in a way.
Okay, so for agencies listening, like DK Digital Marketing Services, what are the immediate marching orders?
Two main things right off the bat. First, broaden your targeting. Seriously, move away from slicing audiences super thin by interests or demographics. Go broader. Trust the machine if you feed it the right creative.
And the second thing,
Simplify your structure. That old habit of creating, dozens and dozens of small ad sets, each with a tiny budget tweak. That fragmentation, it actually hurts the new system's ability to learn.
so all those ad sets are starving the retrieval engine of data.
Exactly. You mentioned agencies running 50 ad sets. That's the perfect example of what not to do now. It's like giving the AI tiny sips of data when it needs big gulps to learn effectively. That fragmentation is now a performance penalty.
Okay, concrete steps. If I'm looking at a client's account right now, what's the first audit I should run?
Look for two things: over-segmentation, like we just discussed, and lack of real creative variety. Do you have tons of ad sets with tiny budget splits? Are all your creatives basically the same image with slightly different headlines?
Guilty as charged sometimes.
If yes, you're likely handicapping Andromeda. It needs distinct options.
Which leads to the second step, creative production.
Yes, adopting a true creative library approach. And I don't mean just making two versions of an ad. We're talking like 10 to 20 genuinely distinct creative assets per campaign objective.
Distinct how?
Different hooks, different formats, different angles, different personas. Think UGC testimonials versus a polished product demo. Short, punchy video versus a longer explanation. Static image versus carousel. They need to be different candidates for the system.
That's a significant increase in creative workload for most teams.
It is, but that's where the leverage is now. And structurally, for scaling campaigns.
You said consolidate.
Absolutely. Aim for one main campaign per conversion objective, say one for purchases, one for leads. Use broad targeting within that campaign, and then feed it that wide variety of distinct creative assets.
When would you use separate campaigns then?
Really only if you're testing something fundamentally different that needs its own budget isolation, like a completely different offer or a totally separate landing page funnel. Otherwise, consolidate.
Got it. And the last piece, data signals. Still important.
More important than ever. Garbage in, garbage out is amplified now. Andromeda relies heavily on clean, high-quality signals to learn what's working and refine its retrieval. Your server-side conversions API setup needs to be rock solid. You need proper deduplication between CPI and pixel. Your event parameters, especially value parameters for purchases, need to be accurate. Feeding this incredibly smart system bad data, it's just going to optimize towards the wrong things faster.
Right. So clean data is non-negotiable. Now, managing expectations. Meta's reporting internal gains like +6% recall, +8% ad quality improvements. Does this mean instant amazing results for everyone?
No, definitely not. Look, the engine is better, but it's not magic. Success still fundamentally depends on having a good offer, a solid product, and a funnel that actually converts. Andromeda helps find the right people more efficiently, but it can't make them buy a bad product.
And risks. What should agencies watch out for as they adapt?
A few key things. If your creatives are too similar, Andromeda might actually filter many of them out early, thinking they're duplicates, which limits your potential reach. Weak data signals, as we said, will absolutely hinder optimization. And budget fragmentation actively hurts the learning process.
What about creative burnout? Does Andromeda change how we should think about refreshing ads?
Yeah, it makes meaningful refreshes even more critical. Because Andromeda is constantly looking for distinct candidates, you need to monitor creative fatigue closely. Refreshing every, say, 2-3 weeks is probably a good cadence.
But not just changing the button color.
Exactly. The refresh needs to introduce genuinely new, distinct angles or formats for Andromeda to test. Subtle tweaks probably won't cut it anymore.
Okay, let's try to boil this down. The core takeaway for someone running campaigns.
It's a fundamental shift in focus. Less time spent on manual audience slicing, much more time invested in creative velocity, producing lots of distinct ads, and ensuring your data integrity is spotless. What you show the system, creative plus clean data, increasingly dictates who you reach.
So, what does this all mean? Old habits, micro-targeting, they're not just old, they're inefficient now, maybe even harmful to performance. The real opportunity, it lies in becoming a creative testing machine and a data signal expert.
That's the new frontier.
Okay, here's a final thought to chew on as you start making these changes. Given that the machine, Andromeda, is getting so good at finding the audience, how do you structure your reporting, or maybe even run tests, to prove to your clients that your agency's strategic input, your creative insights, your data management, is still the driving force behind their success? How do you demonstrate your value when the algorithm seems to be doing so much of the heavy lifting on targeting?
That's a great question. Proving value in the age of AI.
Something to mull over. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.